This is part two of Fredericksburg, and I cut out the part where an entire corps came in at Fredericksburg, and then I just maneuvered them to this corner of the map so that they could come into the battle. So you see the Mary's Heights, and then this is the center objective, and the Confederate right is cut off, and it cuts off at a really random spot, and that creates some problems. So here, what you can see I'm doing is I'm bringing in units by division. This is so much easier than bringing units in one at a time, and the only thing I have to make sure of is that nobody crosses over into the range of Confederate artillery. So I just tell all the units to cross here, and Third and Fourth Corps will come in. The Fourth Corps was the tiny unit that came in initially at Fredericksburg in the opening scene. So cut off is about 20, over 20 units of Second Corps. So in front of this little artillery and these couple infantry units in this cav unit is the entire Second Corps. And then, of course, further, looking at the map, further to the right of that is First Corps. So this is a really arbitrary place that the map was cut off, and it creates a problem because the enemy always spawns units right at the edge of the map. So if you don't want this to happen, just stay away from like the area at the top of the map between the Confederate right and the Confederate center, about where I have that infantry unit. And here they are, here they come. And somehow these units have magically transported themselves from the pocket they were in. They were pocketed by all of Second Corps. There's an entire corps that they just transported to the other side of magically. So, and they spawned right on top of an artillery unit, which they're attacking, which is always fun to have one of your artillery units. Now, in front of this artillery unit was an entire corps, at least an entire division that was standing right in front of it, but that's okay. These units just spawned, magically transported across an entire division and right into the rear of the corps. So I just have everyone attack and take these guys out. So I wanted to cover that you can just, where my supply wagon is sitting right now, you can have Second Corps just move up to that point, and I've done this many times. Just move up to that point and wait patiently until this phase of the battle when you can see the center of the line, and then move to the top of the map and make a hard right and go take the objective. And that's what I intended for Second Corps. I intended for Second Corps to do that, but it doesn't work out that way. And the reason is Second Corps has been fighting, and it's kind of its condition is tired. Some of the units need to rest, and I see an opportunity to bag a whole bunch of Confederate units and get a lot of kills. And if I pull Second Corps out, I'm not going to be able to do that. And here comes, look at this. Here comes Third Corps. Third Corps, this huge mob of units that has basically nothing to do. So Second Corps can easily take the Confederate center. Just really, really easily with almost no casualties take the Confederate center. I'm not as certain about Third Corps, but I make the decision to let Third Corps take a stab at this. Third Corps, the units are much lower efficiency, and the artillery is much, much weaker than Second Corps. It just doesn't have the punch that Second Corps has. But I decide to give the objective to Third Corps. And it's the first time I've ever done that, is to give the center to my weakest corps. And First and Second Corps will remain on the Confederate right with the goal of destroying the entire Confederate right flank and racking up a bunch of kills. So that's what I go with. You only need 2 corps of fighting units. You don't need as many units as I have to win this battle. Oh, and I'm about to gather up a supply wagon. You only need 2 corps. You don't need 3. So if you have a lot fewer units, you just about where 3rd Corps is right now. You just bring, if you only have 2 corps, one of your corps just, 1st Corps goes over and does a big sweeping movement to take the flag on the Confederate right, and your 2nd Corps comes in, parks right here where 3rd Corps is, and waits patiently, and then you can see how I'm moving down toward the edge of the river and then crosses the river and continues over and takes the objective in the Confederate center. Now in the front of these positions is all swampy rivers crisscrossing across the area, which will slow you down and give you 0 cover. Not where I'm attacking, but and fortifications behind that, infantry, entrenched infantry. You can see the long line of trenches, and behind that is artillery. You want to go around all of that. So you cross this river, this crossing is unopposed, and then there's a small area of open ground, but there's not much infantry there. And once you get into the wood line that you can see just in front of my units here, once you get into the wood line, there really isn't much between the wood line and the objective. There never is. And so what I'm doing now is 4th Corps is going to extend the flank, cover the flank of 2nd Corps, and 3rd Corps is getting into position to attack the center objective. So my army's pretty much where I want it right now, with an entire Confederate flank being separated and isolated, and I can destroy it in detail, and that's what that's called, destroy in detail. And that's what I always do in this battle. I always cut off one of the enemy flanks, and then I inflict as much damage on it as I want to. And that's the end of the Confederate trench line, and I just attack the very end of the long Confederate trench line. So what you see here is there used to be a pocket in front of 2nd Corps, and I'm looking at 1st Corps. 1st Corps is on one side, 2nd Corps is on the other, and there was a pocket in there, and there's not much left in that pocket. And then the question is what to do now. So what I want to do after that pocket is destroyed and there's not much there is create another pocket of the remaining units on the Confederate flank. And the units that were occupying this defensive position have almost been pushed entirely out of the woods. So I want to push them out of the woods and then destroy them out in the open. And the irritating Confederate cavalry has to be dealt with. So I want to do something to make sure that I destroy those too. So that's the objective. Kill the units on the Confederate right that are surviving. And I have 1st Corps, 2nd Corps, and 4th Corps over there to rack up as many kills as possible. And then 3rd Corps is now going to advance and take the objective in the center. And when here's the big takeaway from this. When these 2 victory locations are taken, there will be a countdown timer and the battle's over. So yeah, it says 3 hours and 28 minutes at this point, but I'm going to take the 2 objectives and then I'm not going to get the 3 hours. So, and I think I have a Confederate cav unit, another one just running through my line over top of my units, and that's great. So I really want to kill all those cav units. So you can see 3rd Corps is on the flank. That's actually the right flank of the units that's defending the center. So that's not heavily defended. It is defended, and there are units there, but it's not heavily defended, and I won't be attacking entrenchments. So it looks like he's going to launch a bit of a counterattack to try to take the flag on the right. That's not going to work out. So the biggest thing with Third Corps, I think, is they don't have the condition or the efficiency or the weapons that Second Corps has. So I have to have them work together. And when units get tired, I have to make sure I let them rest. So you just can't push them very hard. They can't do a lot of running. So those units, I think those are Second Corps units, and some of those I start to peel those off because they don't have much to do. This battle's moving very quickly, so I move them across in case they're needed um, to help the attack in the center. The Confederate cav units are, their cavalry is just really irritating in this battle. If you can trap them all in the opening phases, and you can sometimes, you can trap them all and just wipe them out. That's the ideal. And I think another cav unit just passed right through my dismounted skirmisher. That's just great. And it looked like he was going to ride over and take my supply unit. So, yeah, that's just terrific. So I make it a point to chase those guys down. They're really irritating. Yeah, the all of the most of the First Corps units are now pretty exhausted, so I'm limited in what I can do with those guys. Um, but as much as possible, I'd like for them to at least help run down the cav, or at least drive them off. Yeah, there are a couple more units that have to be driven out on the Confederate right, and then the entire force will be out in the open. And that is a very bad location. That's a very bad place to be. So I intentionally wanted to make sure that I didn't have to attack there because it's pretty awful. Yep, all swampland and no cover, and your units get exhausted moving through that. So yeah, that's a very bad place to be. And his cav is getting bottled up, so that's nice. They'll shortly be out of the game. So all this is going really well. And Fourth Corps is a lot more active than I thought they would be. Fourth Corps is doing a great job of just being one side of the little box I'm creating for that for those guys that are isolated out in the open. That's terrific. And they're getting some experience. Most of those Fourth Corps units are green, raw recruits with 1842s. I think they have 1842s. They might have reboard farmers. So the enemy has good units over here covering that flank, but there aren't many of them. And once they pull back, it's not that far to the objective, and there's not much there. So you can see I've shifted some of the units of First Corps around to make, I now have 3 sides of the box completed. First Corps has 2 sides of the box, Fourth Corps has 1 side of the box, and yeah. And over in the center, yeah, my units are a little bit fragile. They can't take a lot of punishment, so I have to rotate units in and out as they lose condition and become exhausted. But I have a lot more, a lot more units than the enemy's just outnumbered so badly. The Second Corps units would have held up a lot better than the Third Corps units. They would have not routed as easily. So that's the disadvantage of sending the weakest corps over there. So I have 2 hours and 57 minutes, and that's more than enough time to box these guys up. And it's also plenty of time to run down this cav and destroy it. So a ton of time. So this looks like a classic breakthrough. We have put a hole in the enemy line, and yeah, we're advancing. We've made a breakthrough in their line, and advancing and expanding the breakthrough. And we've gotten the breakthrough right at a perfect place to just march on the flag. So, and those guys are flanking nicely. That position now is undefendable that the enemy has. They can't defend it. And what the AI should do at that point is pull all their units back and just defend the flag, make a circle around the flag, but they don't do that. So yeah, this is about keep advancing and keep rolling up the artillery. Yeah, at this point, chasing down the retreating enemy everywhere just takes a ton of micromanagement. And you just have to keep telling units to keep advancing. And as much as possible, I try to keep these units on the road. And you can see that the Second Corps units are as much as possible following roads and doing another sweeping movement to get on the other side of these, what's left of the Confederate right, to box it up. I don't want to drive them into the river, and I don't want to chase them forever. I would like as much as possible to completely surround them. And really, at the point where they're surrounded, they should all surrender. Units in that position would not stand and fight. Out in the open, no cover, completely surrounded, they would just surrender. It'd be over. So this is a very different outcome than what happened historically. So over here, I gave orders to one of my units to advance in the center, and fortunately, it hasn't taken the objective just yet. But now I make a mistake and I tell it to go take the flag, and that's unfortunate because there's still several thousand guys yet to take out. Uh, Doing a good job of running down the cav, the enemy cav, and certainly made them completely ineffective. So that's good. And at this point, the this pocket has been completely surrounded, and I have 2 hours and 29 minutes, and that's more than enough time to kill them all. And my mistake was that I wasn't thinking, and I told my unit, that one unit, to advance on the flag, and that was a mistake. Because you can see the countdown timer. I don't have 2 hours and 29 minutes. I have 18 minutes, 17 minutes, and I realize right now, oh no, this is bad. I was going to get a lot more experience, and I was going to round up a lot of easy kills, and I just robbed myself of about, I don't know, 4 or 5,000 easy kills. And some of that would have happened for Fourth Corps. Fourth Corps was about to get a lot of experience, so too bad. 14 minutes and counting. And look, I have them right in a perfect pocket. Exactly what I was hoping to do. It's just a screw up. I mean, that was a mistake, and it's going to cost me. I'm not going to get those however many 4,000 maybe kills, and that's a shame. Yeah, and in only a couple minutes, that artillery is going to be right on the front line. It'd be able to, all that artillery would be able to get a bunch of experience too, and just a shame. Yeah, but I guess what I should have done at this point is fall back and let the enemy retake the objective, but I can't do that. Ten minutes to go. So we finally wiped out the last of that cav, so that's good. That guy surrendered because he got hit from three sides at once. So that was a good unit. I think it was 3-star. So even he, after he took enough losses, he gave up. Yeah, look at that. It's all starting to come together in the center. Lots of artillery pouring in. It's just, that's a thing of beauty. And 2 minutes to go. Yep, there it is. 6,000 versus 20,500 casualties, 3 to 1. And not bad. You can do it and take a lot. You can really reduce your casualty count, but the objective of this campaign is to inflict as many casualties as possible on the enemy. So 20,000 is pretty good. I would have liked to have gotten that last 4 or 5,000. I would have liked to have gotten 25 or 26,000, and that would have been even better, obviously. But not bad. The units did well. Some of these units look at the 1,700 and lost 150 men. I mean, that's just terrific. So yeah, 24-pound howitzer had a pretty good day. My 24-pound howitzer is not a great day. I like to see those guys get 1,000 kills each. 24-pound howitzers usually do a little better than that. But in this playthrough, I'm babying them more than usual. So yeah, but the numbers are a lot of experience for these units. I would have particularly have liked for Fourth Corps to get more experience, so they could have, um, particularly the units that don't have stars. I would have liked for them all to have gotten their first star, and I don't think they all do. They don't get enough kills to get their first star. So anyway, the unit got a lot of the entire army got a lot of experience, and the important thing is going into the next battle. Never upgrade your entire army after a big battle. If you're going into little battles, only upgrade the units and replace the losses of the units that are going to fight in the next battle. So I have several battles to replace my losses, and I'm going to get a ton of free weapons in the next couple of engagements. And Ang Lee becomes a 3-star and a new corps commander. So that's really neat. I've got a 3-star commander out of this. So that's terrific. And I'll see you next battle.